I just went downstairs to get my copy of the New York Times Magazine. There's Tiger Woods. Well, it's a funny cover. Anyway, sometimes I like some of the stuff I see in there. 99% of the time it pisses me off, but I want to stay informed of all media and publications. So I check the bad guys too. When I was reading it, I turned the page in, the magazine, and there was an article about Lebanon. And if you have a New York Times Magazine, you can see it yourself. Anyway, if you look closer, you'll notice it's actually in the special advertising section, which means it isn't an editorial, it's actually paid advertising, several pages long, in the New York Times Magazine. Now, if you didn't know, the New York Times is $1 billion in debt, and they were given a loan of about a quarter of that by this guy named Carlos Slim Helú. Now, Carlos Slim's family has been in Mexico for about 100 years. And he owns the telephones in Mexico and much of Latin America. In fact, he has a monopoly in Mexico. And Mexico apparently has the highest telephone rates anywhere in the world, and yet some of the poorest people. So he's arguably a billionaire that really takes advantage of the working class and chokes out competition, and he's a danger to his own society. At any rate, you do a little research, you realize he's Lebanese. Notice the New York Times Magazine and their editorials, which generally pretty anti-Israel, okay, then has a special advertisement for how great the Lebanese business market is. It's propaganda right in the New York Times Magazine. Why? Because out of the $1 billion of debt that the New York Times, which is not a profitable company, has incurred, 250 million of it to buy themselves out came from Lebanon. And if you see the editorial in the New York Times, you realize that it reflects the reality of their advertisers and the people that put the money behind it. Obviously, the guy's from Lebanon, and he is quite brutal to the economy in his own residence in Mexico, from Mexico City, and he has interests in. I think his eye is on Lebanon, and he's buying propaganda against Israel. Anyway, your thoughts.